from Shalom Acres. Today we are doing part 2 of our root cellar. So what we're going to do today is we've decided that in case if we ever need to use a hose or any kind of anything on the inside of the root cellar, we want to have a drain. So today what we've decided to do is we got a 2-inch drain that we're going to go ahead and take a 2-inch street elbow, put those together, and then we'll just go ahead and attach it to our pipe. And what we've already done a little bit of a pre-measurement, we're looking for 5 inches. So if I take this out, the height of our drain is going to be exactly 5 inches, exactly what we want, because our concrete slab is going to be 5 inches thick. So this is going to work out perfect from this standpoint. Then after that, all we're going to do then is simply make sure that our bubble on our level is leaning towards one side, because we've got about a 5-inch slope from here all the way to the end. So we're going to go ahead and set that all up and get our pipe run today. If that works out well, then we'll set our plastic down, and then we'll set up our foundational supports. And then after our foundational supports, we will go ahead and run the other rebar running across in a grid pattern. So hopefully, got big plans today. Hopefully we'll get a lot done, and we'll take you along with us. Thanks for watching. Okay, so in this particular area, we are starting off with a 2-inch drain. But then after that, I'm going to reduce it down to 1.5 inches. I'm doing that for 2 reasons. 1, this is pipe that I had available, and 2, as my slope of the pipe's going down, I want to make sure that I've got enough, that little bit of a difference is going to give me about a total of an overall inch. So for how long I'm running the pipe, I want to have a little bit smaller of a diameter if at all possible. Because again, this drain, it's really just kind of an emergency type thing. We're not planning on using it for anything because it's going to be watertight. But if we ever decide that we need to hose down, clean, or anything like that inside there, we want to have the option. Because I'm actually going to keep this drain plugged at the exit and at the entrance point inside the actual root cellar at all times. So this is one thing that I'm doing. I am reducing it down from a 2-inch pipe down to 1.5 inches. And again, this primer, all it's doing is just preparing your surface so that way it can accept the glue in a good manner. And a lot of people, I think, out there don't use it. My dad was a plumber, and he said if you don't use it, you're gonna have problems. I don't know what those problems are. My dad was a plumber for 40 years, and I believe my father. Key thing when you're gluing is just make sure when you slip it on, give it a little twist, and that allows the glue to connect in all areas of the pipe. Good surface area coverage. Whenever I'm working, I always try to work in the direction. So I always start on one end and then go to the opposite end as far as where I'm at. That way, if you got to make any changes or anything along the way, it's super simple to do versus trying to make that last connection. And you're like, oh wow, how am I going to make that? Because I've already made all these other connections, and then you feel like there's no way out. So I always start on one end and just continually work towards the other end. And we're just going to keep on going. Okay, so we've got the drain set now, in place. We've actually flowed water through it. Perfect flow. We're feeling really confident about that. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to move forward and actually go ahead and start cutting the rebar. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the foundational supports of rebar right now. And what I figured out we needed on the long side, we're going to take number 3s, and we're going to use 4 of those. And then to run underneath the smaller walls, we'll use some 10-foot number 3s for that. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and cut the rebar for the floor. So we'll need 12 number 4s that are 10 foot long, for that, and then I need 11 number 3s that are 17 foot long. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting. Again, got my safety stuff on, eyeglasses, hearing protection, and leather gloves. Be back with you. Okay, so we've got our plastic here. We're going to go ahead and line the whole underneath portion of this to give us a vapor barrier. I know some of you are probably thinking, why do you want a vapor barrier? In this particular reasoning, we just want to keep it as watertight as we possibly can. We think the plastic underneath is going to help us a lot. And we do know that a root cellar does require a certain amount of humidity. But we would rather take steps to control the humidity inside there with some other measures, which we'll get to later on when we're actually storing fruit and vegetables in there. But right now we want to go ahead and give ourselves a nice little vapor barrier and a little protection on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and install our plastic. Then after that we'll set our rebar on it. Okay, so what we've done now is we've got our 6 mil plastic down, and now we've set up our stanchions. So I believe these stanchions, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're 2.5 to 3 inches off. And we've cut our rebar now 10 foot long, actually 10 feet and a quarter, because the rebar was 20 feet and half an inch. So I just cut it right down the middle. And this again is going to be the outside part of our sidewall. So what we're doing is we're going to spread our load. We've got one bar that's right over it, and then we're going to go ahead and spread the other load out this way. And we're going to do this two parts for where the wall's at. And again, this is for our foundation. And then after that, we're going to build a grid system up on top of the plastic. So stay with us. Here we go. Okay, so we've got the long and the short sides of the foundational supports on. What I'm doing is I'm just taking a little piece of wire. I'm just taking this wire and wrapping it around here. And then just pulling it tight just to connect the two pieces of rebar together, just to make it so it's not going to move as we're putting the concrete on. Don't really expect it to, but there's no point in taking any chances, because we definitely want this support on the corners and on the walls. So even on the corner here, I'm going to go ahead and tie down this other little support leg and just tighten that down. And then we're going to go ahead and do that on a few more strategic spots, so that way we're ensuring that the rebar stays exactly where we want it. More to come in a minute. Thank you. Okay, we're back here. Just want to give you a little bit of a dimension of these stands. So these stands are 12 inches wide and they're right at 3 inches tall. So they must be designed for more of a typically a 6-inch slab. We're actually going to be pouring pretty much a 6-inch foundation and close to a 6-inch slab, so we're actually in really good shape. It'll probably be closer to 5.5 between them, because we're going to end up pouring about 11 inches total of concrete. But you can see what I've got here is I've got all these stands coming across. What's so nice about the stands is I don't have to worry about measuring anything, because they're already 1 foot apart, and all the rebar I'm putting in on this floor is going to be on 1 foot centers. So I'm just going to set these all out, and then the number 3 rebar, we'll set them in right here in the middle, and then after that I'll take the number 4 rebar, which is 1/2 inch, and I'll set that up on 18-inch centers, and then we'll have a complete grid system. So we'll have a grid system for the whole floor. When we come back, we'll show you that. Thanks. Okay, so we are back. We've got the full grid system in. So again, we put number 3 bar on the bottom, and then we put number 4 bar on top. The 3 bar was on 12-inch centers, which is what the stands are. And then we went ahead and set the number 4 bar actually on 18-inch centers, just because of the difference in diameter of your rebar. That's one of the things to talk about. If you are wanting to go with less rebar, you can go with number 4 bar, or you can even go with number 6 bar. Just depends on what you have available and or what you're able to buy. And you can see the white things that are sticking up, right out in there. Those are still because those are to finish grade, and I still don't want to take a chance of anybody being impaled by those as they're walking around. So we keep those up just to make sure nobody gets hurt. Really appreciate you watching. Next video we'll set up is actually setting up the form and then pouring, and I don't believe the concrete truck's coming until next week, so it's going to be a little bit of a gap in our videos. But thanks for watching. Have a great night. Shalom.